Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. Joining us are ESPN senior writer Mark Ogden and Martin Ziegler, chief sports reporter for The Times. Welcome to you both. Let's quickly run everyone through the back pages, starting with the Telegraph. Amorim: Arteta had time at Arsenal. I will not get same at United. At front of The Times, Millwall keeper ban doubled and Pep: Grealish lacks rhythm. Back of the Express, United are no work of art. Slots leading lights not great yet. Roberts ban extended. For the back of the Guardian, Mainoo seeks move abroad. The Sun: art to hearts, Real's TAA June bid. And Alexander-Arnold. And all for United's fans protest and Liam hit for 6. The back of the Star, McTock and Karate keeper hit for 6. But we are going to start with the Man United story and the front of the Telegraph then, and get to this story, Martin, which is all about Ruben Amorim saying that he will not get as much time as Mikel Arteta in turning Manchester United around. Is that fair?
Well, I'm not sure about that, really. I mean, didn't Arteta, I think he won the FA Cup in his first season, didn't he? So I think, all these big clubs, time is of the essence. Arteta, I know he was given time, that's for sure. He was allowed to build it. They didn't finish in Champions League places for the first couple of seasons. I think Amorim's problems are actually deeper than Arteta's because, they are struggling much, much more than Arsenal were when Arteta took over. So he's probably got a bigger job, and he doesn't have the sort of perhaps the goodwill that Arteta, being a former Arsenal player, had when he went to the Emirates.
Mark, the Express has more on this. United are no work of art. Do you think he gets any credit in the bank only because he didn't really want to come in halfway through the season? Does that buy him a little bit longer, given that he said he wanted to come at the end of the season when he could work properly with players and bring players in?
I'm not sure. Listen, the quote about Arteta is probably right in the sense that Arteta finished eighth and fifth in his first 3 seasons, and I don't think a Man United mind would survive that. But there were signs of progress towards the end of that third season with Arteta. But in terms of Amorim, yeah, he wanted to come in at the end of the season. He wanted to wait until the coast was clear, so to speak. But he's there now, and I think as a top class coach as he is, and he's reputed to be, you have to do better with what you've got. And I'm the first one to admit that squad of players isn't good enough for Man United, but a top coach makes average players play better. And none of the players are playing better, apart from maybe Bruno Fernandes. So you can't really point to any positives or any uplift, apart from the fact he's dealt with some big decisions. He's moved on Marcus Rashford, he's moved on Anthony, he's got players out that weren't performing, he's made some big calls, but you could argue that he's been a little bit too severe on the squad because of what he's left with is a squad that's just nowhere near good enough. You've got 2 forwards who don't score goals. So was he too quick to get rid of Marcus Rashford and Anthony? I think Rashford was the right decision. Anthony's not good enough. So he's dealing with a very weak hand, but still you'd expect better. And he's stubbornly rigid in terms of his formation. He wants to play 3 at the back, but it's not working with that group of players. They're just not equipped to play it. And you think at some point he might just decide that I need to get a result. I need to get some results. Let's make it simple. Let's go back to basics and get to the end of the season, try and improve the position. But he's not doing that. So the credit that he's got, yes, the fans are still with him because he's doing what they wanted him to do. He's getting tough with players, but in the summer there has to be some sort of positivity, some optimism, some belief that it's going to get better. And with the situation United are in financially, it's hard to see how it does get better unless they get in the Champions League by winning the Europa League. And again, it wasn't a great result in Sociedad last night. They have to win next week in the second leg to get through to the quarterfinals. So everything is based on getting in the Champions League by winning the Europa League, and it's a high wire act really. United have to put all their eggs in that basket, and if that doesn't happen, then it's going to be a very tough summer for United, getting people in and getting people out, and Amorim has to deal with that.
Okay, interesting piece from Jamie Carragher in his column in the Daily Telegraph. Never slow, I guess, a former Liverpool legend sticking the knife into Manchester United, Martin. But he says Amorim drowning in tidal waves of mediocrity, pointing out that teams like Everton have improved, have bounced since David Moyes has gone in. We've never really seen that with Amorim and Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean, David Moyes has almost produced miracles since he's gone to Everton. There was a slight bounce, wasn't there, when Amorim first took over, but that's sort of very much drifted away, and now it's just about every match seems to be painful, and I think Mark's absolutely right in that the players just don't seem to be able to adapt to the formation he wants to play. But he's been adamant he's not going to play anything else, and maybe that's a weakness of his if he can't adapt himself. So yeah, I mean, a tidal wave of mediocrity is probably fair enough, isn't it?
Just on that, Mark, just the kind of the tactical side of things. I mean, do we give Amorim praise for sticking to his guns and wanting to play this system, or should he be able to be pragmatic as a coach, work with what he's got, and just kind of do what needs to be done to dig out results?
It's hard to give him praise for being so stubborn. If there was a sign of positivity that it was working and that players were getting better and adjusting to the system, you say, yeah, the green shoots are there, give it time and it will come good. But you have to say there are no green shoots. And the one thing I will say on Amorim's part is that he has made the point that why go back to 4 at the back, because it wasn't working for Erik ten Hag either. So no matter what system these players play, they're not very good at it. So that suggests the players aren't good enough. And if the players aren't good enough, then you have to find a way to either change the players, either get new players in, or use the players from the academy. But whatever he's trying, he's not making it work. A coach, any good coach, look at David Moyes at Everton, he's made a difference. You'd think that a coach would go in there, look at what he's got, and find a way to get the best out of an average bunch of players. United this is a bad squad, but it's not that bad. It's not so bad that they should be 6th bottom of the Premier League. So I think he's so wedded to this system that it's not working. And a top coach would think, right, we have to win games, and he's not doing that. So I think you have to hold it against him, the fact that he's so stubborn there, because there are no signs that it's working. If there are no signs that it's working, it's that whole thing, isn't it? If you repeat the same mistakes again, it's a sign of madness in many ways. So change the system, do something, break it up, just try and kickstart a season, because it's going nowhere for Man United right now, apart from the wrong direction.
OK, well, this is not going to please Manchester United fans or Ruben Amorim. An exclusive by Will Unwin in The Guardian, which suggests, Martin, that Mainoo is seeking a move abroad. Midfielder likely to reject United deal. I mean, he would be someone that United would be looking to build their team around. Ahmed Diallo perhaps being another one who's out for the season. These young players are kind of key in terms of those green shoots. But according to Will Unwin, it looks like he might want to move.
Yeah, I thought this was a really interesting story. I mean, Mainoo is somebody who obviously got through into the England squad last season, looked really, really impressive, and yet he's a classic example of someone who's just sort of his career's gone into reverse. I know he's had the injury problems, but I think Amorim has said he doesn't fit into his system exactly. He's going to have to play in a different place, and if he is now saying he wants to go abroad and play somewhere else, I mean that speaks volumes.
Yeah, what do you make of this, Mark? Mainoo on the move, possibly?
Look, as Martin knows, with PSR right now, if you sell Mainoo and get a significant fee, all of that goes down as profit, so it helps United balance the books. And in the summer, when they're going to need money to bring players in, then the likes of Mainoo, Alejandro Garnacho and Marcus Rashford would be attractive sales for Man United, because it helps them bring money in to rebuild the squad, and it desperately needs rebuilding. The situation Mainoo is that he doesn't fit the system, as Martin says. He's not athletic enough, and for that system to work as it did at Sporting Lisbon, Amorim had lots of athletic box-to-box players. Now, Mainoo is not particularly quick. He's not particularly quick with his feet. So I guess in terms of Amorim, he's looking at that skill set and thinking, you don't really fit in this team. He's a very good player. Obviously, he's got 2 years left on his contract, and this might just be a play to nudge United to give him more money. He's one of the lowest paid players in the squad, but I don't think, if he was to be sold in the summer, it would leave a massive hole at United, because he doesn't fit the system. So if they can find a club that will pay big money for him, it actually might be the best move in the short term and the long term for United to get rid of him and get some money to rebuild the squad.
OK, let's move on from Manchester United and get to Martin's piece in The Times. Martin, tell us about this. Liam Roberts, this kind of horrendous tackle on Jean-Philippe Mateta. He's had his ban doubled. Is that right? Is that the right decision?
Yeah, I think. Anybody who saw that. I'm sure everyone's seen that terrible challenge and the absolutely sickening result that it had on Mateta. Obviously, somebody can get a 3-match ban for a much more less severe incident than that. So it makes absolute sense for the regulatory commission to double it to 6 games. It's actually quite rare for the FA to do this, to seek to increase the amount of a ban. I mean, it's happened to a Cheltenham Town player, I think, in 2019. Happened famously with Ben Thatcher about 20 odd years ago with that tackle on Pedro Mendes. Doesn't happen a lot, but I think it is the right decision here.
Yeah, I mean, I think in fairness to Roberts, Mark, he's come out, he reached out to Jean-Philippe Mateta, they've communicated. There was no intent on his part. It was a horrendous challenge, but he wasn't like he set out to nobble the Crystal Palace centre forward. He just got it wrong in a split-second moment. Yeah,
but it's that lack of control, isn't it? And if you're going to make that challenge come out of your area like that, you have to be in some element of control, and he wasn't. You know, we saw the pictures, we've seen the stills, we saw it in real time. There's no way of looking at it thinking it was a good challenge, and it was reckless on his behalf. And intent isn't an issue. If it's reckless and it's dangerous, then it deserves a red card, as it did. I think I have to say that Michael Oliver, the referee, missed it, and he had to go to VAR, so he's not doing a Premier League game this weekend. So he's also had to, suffer some consequences for missing probably the worst foul of the season. So it doesn't reflect well on our referees that was missed. But in the sense that extending the ban, I think it's fair, and it sends a message that goalkeepers have to be careful of what they do. I was reading a column at the weekend by one of the writers who said that goalkeepers are much bigger than some outfield players because of the way they work. They have to be much more physically imposing, and when they hit a player, they really hit a player. So if you're a goalkeeper, you have to be mindful of the fact that you can do real damage, and that's happening in this case. Whether it was intent or not, it was very damaging, and Mateta's lucky that he wasn't more seriously injured.
Yeah, good points, Jensen. The good news is, like you say, Jean-Philippe Mateta not more seriously injured. So thanks for now. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at more of the sports stories in the morning's papers, including this in the Sun. Art to Heart, all about Arsenal and Miles Lewis-Skelly, and the latest on a potential move to Real Madrid for Trent Alexander-Arnold. You're watching Back Pages tonight, and welcome back to ESPN's senior writer Mark Ogden and Martin Ziegler, chief sports reporter to The Times. Right, let's go to The Sun then. Art to Heart is the headline. Mikel's talks with MLS, that is Miles Lewis-Skelly, not Major League Soccer, to stop him being a liability. Martin, he has had previous in his fledgling career, hasn't he, Miles Lewis-Skelly? Super talented player, sent off twice, and he was yellow carded the other night. And was taken off pretty early by Arteta to keep him from being perhaps red carded again.
Yeah, I think he perhaps maybe a bit fortunate to not get yet another red card. And he's very, obviously vastly talented, very skillful, good defender, but it just seems to not be quite a sort of wise, slightly naive perhaps in some of his challenges, and that's sort of taken him over the edge. And it sounds like Arteta's saying, he's spoken to him and he needs to basically wise up a bit, and just because it can be so costly when you lose a player, obviously. And he, not only has he had those red cards, he's actually had another red card, which was overturned famously, wasn't it? So, yeah, he's somebody he perhaps living a little bit too close to the edge.
Yeah, Martin, what do you make of this, Miles Lewis-Skelly, and this disciplinary side of things?
I just think it's good management by Arteta. He's got a real talent there, but obviously Arsenal have had a lot of injuries this season. Their squad has been hit quite hard, so he doesn't need his best players to be missing games through suspensions. And I think he can be a bit rash, a bit reckless, but if you're a manager that is prepared to sit down with the player and just say, look, you've got to ease off a little bit, you've got to be mindful of the referees, you've got to be mindful of the opposition trying to get you into trouble. I just think it's good management on Arteta's part, but obviously it has to sink in with the player. I'm pretty sure it will do, but that's the point, isn't it? If you're a manager, you have to make sure you press the right buttons. And I think with Lewis-Skelly, he's such a good player. I'm sure that the penny will drop and he will hopefully avoid more disciplinary problems.
OK, we're going to stay with The Sun. Real's TAA June bid. Real Madrid are ready to pay Liverpool a fee to get Trent. Martin, before the Club World Cup in June. I mean, it's a poorly kept secret, I guess, that he looks like he's going to Real Madrid, but the timing of this one's important.
Yeah, because there's a bit of a sort of strange thing with the transfer window caused by the Club World Cup. There's almost like there's going to be two separate transfer windows, one beforehand and then one after it starts. Now, if they want to get Trent Alexander-Arnold in for their Club World Cup team, he may not be out of contract. In that case, they may have to pay some sort of fee. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be a huge amount, really. Given the fact he'll have like a matter of days left on his contract. But be an interesting one if Liverpool dig their heels and say, look, if you want him, you're going to have to pay something for him.
Yeah, Mark, what do you make of this, Mark? A bit of financial brinkmanship, even though it looked like he was going on a free. They might be able to squeeze a few pounds out of him.
Well, yeah, and obviously, FIFA have opened the transfer window before the Club World Cup. So in terms of his Liverpool career, if they get to the Champions League final, it'll be done and dusted by the end of May. So June comes along. Real Madrid have got a tournament in mid-June to mid-July. You know, for Trent Alexander-Arnold, what a great opportunity to start his career elsewhere if he does leave with a Club World Cup. So I think it makes sense, but whether Real Madrid would be willing to pay a significant fee and how much they'd want to pay and how much Liverpool would want from them. But you know, if a month's left on his contract, it can't be that big a fee. But anything that Liverpool could get for him, whether it's 5, 10, 15 million pounds, they should take it because they're going to get nothing if he leaves on a free transfer. So I can see this happening actually. But I think the bigger question is what happens to the players. You know, people like Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan at Man City, their contract expires on the 30th of June. Well, if they play all the way to the final, they're out of contract and their FIFA have opened a window. But if you're a player that's got the potential of a move somewhere else, do you want to risk putting that move in jeopardy for the sake of a 2-week contract? So there are issues that are going to arise in this Club World Cup because of the situation with contracts. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to players that are out of contracts and players that could also get a move before the tournament.
Yeah, some interesting points. We will watch this space. Martin, we are going to look at your story by your colleague Charlotte Dunker in the Times. Pep says that Grealish lacks rhythm. Jack Grealish been pictured a couple of times on nights out. So Pep keen to focus on his performances kind of on the pitch. He's saying he lacks rhythm. What do you make of where Grealish is at Manchester City at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say his time at Manchester City been a bit disappointing. £100 million move, wasn't it? And it hasn't lived up to the potential, really. And he's been in and out of the side. I don't think these sort of pictures of him on nights out particularly help. I mean, Pep Guardiola saying the obvious that, he has lacked rhythm on the pitch for whatever reason, injuries. I think also if you're out of the side, it's actually, on a lengthy basis, it's actually quite difficult to come in and adapt perhaps to people who are playing, much more regularly than he is. So he's probably just speaking, fairly honestly, Pep Guardiola, and in a way, speaking the obvious as well.
On the inside of the Telegraph, he's talking about his future being decided on the pitch, Mark, as opposed to this kind of extra hiatus kind of off it with him pictured in nightclubs and things like that. Is Guardiola got this one right?
Well, if it's going to be decided on the pitch, it's a kind of a clue that he doesn't have much of a future there because we have to be honest that obviously Jack Grealish missed out of the Euro squad last year because he wasn't playing for Man City. It's going on for about a year now, this 18 months that he's been out of form. So if Pep's pointing to his on-pitch form, then that doesn't bode well. The problem is he's a £100 million player on big wages and he's still under contract. So if City do want to move him on, somebody's got to pay that kind of money to take him away. So I think he's 29 now, Jack Grealish. So it's going to be difficult for City to move him on. It's going to be difficult for him to find a club. So maybe he has to kind of get his head down and try and save his City career. But I think it sounds like the way that Pep's talking that he might have a much chance of saving that career.
OK, let's go back to Liverpool then. Back of the Express, right at the top of the page here. Slot's leading lights, not great yet. Arne Slot has told his Liverpool players, Martin, they're not a great team yet. Keen that they don't let up. He's talked about 3 cup finals coming up, the PSG and the Newcastle one, but also Southampton, which is quite pointed because you'd imagine that would be a stroll in the park for Liverpool, but Klopp keen that his players don't see it that way.
Well, he doesn't want them to take their foot off the gas for sure. And I'm sure this is a way of geeing them up, saying, don't be complacent. But yeah, it should be a walkover the way both teams have been playing. I mean, in a way, it's fairly obvious. They're not a great team yet because they haven't got those trophies in the bag while Slot has been there. So he doesn't want them to take anything for granted. Perhaps at the end of the season, it could be a different story. It looks like the Premier League, certainly that trophy is going there, and we'll see which other ones can go there too.
Mark, too early to say that this is a great team, and how does it compare from the kind of Jurgen Klopp era? I think Klopp has gone on the record to say if they do win things, he'll be back there to join in the celebrations, but he doesn't want to jinx them by turning up too soon.
Yeah, like, as Martin said, they haven't won anything yet. So if they don't win anything this season, I'm sure they'll win something. But they have to win things. And at Liverpool, they've set a pretty high bar. You know, this is a club that's won domestic trebles. It's won 6 Champions Leagues, 19 top division titles. So you have to do a lot of Liverpool to become a great team. So I think Liverpool have to win a title, maybe the Champions League this season. If they win both, then they'll be a great team in the club's history. If they win the Carabao Cup as well, that'll be 3 trophies, which they did before, I think, in '84. So they have to win a lot of Liverpool to be regarded as great. So while they haven't won anything yet, they can't be regarded as great. But, you know, they've certainly got great players like Mo Salah, so I think they're not far away from being great, but they have to win something to do that.
Mark, what do you make about these comments that Liverpool were lucky? I mean, I think all of us who watched the PSG game would suggest they got away with one. But is that the sign of a really good side, that you can be battered and you can still come away with the victory?
That was Arne Slot's point today, wasn't it? He quoted Michael Jordan saying that, you know, the harder I work, the luckier I get, and that's it. Liverpool probably earned the luck. They had fortune on the side with the Canate situation and the offside goal, but you know they made that pay at the end of the game by winning the game with Harvey Elliott scoring the goal. So yes, they were lucky, but they earned the luck and they made it pay. So I don't think any team complains about being lucky. They just want to win, and Liverpool did that. OK, let's go to the back of The Guardian then, and just focus on a little bit of rugby then, because Marcus Smith, fall guy, Martin, is what they're saying. Steve Borthwick has left him out of the Six Nations match when he was very much the main man and looked like the man around which this team was going to be built. What do you make of it?
Yeah, this is very interesting column by Hugo Monnier in The Guardian. So Marcus Smith is probably the most naturally talented player in the England squad, but he's lost out. I think what the point Hugo Monnier is making, he doesn't quite fit into Steve Borthwick's vision. Borthwick is a very much a sort of careful coach. Smith is a sort of bright, explosive player. He does the unexpected, does a lot of running with the ball. But his replacement, Finn Smith, at fly half, is much more of a sort of steady playmaker, very, very reliable, and he's got Steve Borthwick's. He's the choice. For many rugby fans, you think it's amazing that Marcus Smith is such a talent, can't play for England. Interesting to see if he gets called up, but for the British Lions, and whether Andy Farrell thinks actually England may not want him, but we certainly rate him.
Gentlemen, we have run out of time. Thank you very much for your contribution. Terrific stuff tonight. If you missed any of the show, there's another chance to see Back Pages tonight at hour. And the show is also available as a podcast. Just download Back Pages on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.